Have you ever bought something thinking you got the deal of your life, only to have someone turn up and tell you, nope, it was never yours to begin with? Yeah, me neither until last year. That's the kind of day that makes you question the whole idea of owning anything in America. Anyway, I'm Frank. And if you've ever lost everything and tried to build it back, well, grab a coffee. This story gets messy. It all started with this Lakeside ranch I bought at a bankruptcy auction. My second chance, or that's what I kept telling myself. I'm not talking about a fixer-upper on some nameless street. This was 47 acres with a creaky old farmhouse, a dock, where you could actually hear fish jump at sunrise and grass so high it made you want to run and forget you were a grown man with a busted-up life. After my divorce, half my money gone, my apartment suddenly feeling too small, I'd spent every dollar I had left, a whole $183,000 in cash. Not a spur-of-the-moment thing. I'd spent months on tax records, title history, legal research, zoning. I could have told you more about that ranch than about my own family. The auction closed 3 weeks earlier. The title company gave me the all clear. I even had the deed notarized and stuck it in my glove box, just to feel the weight of it. My new life was supposed to start with that first drive down the winding dirt road, pine needles crunching under the tires, my heart pounding out every last bit of hope I had left. Except, yeah, you guessed it, when I get there, 3 pickup trucks are blocking my gate. Not county vehicles, not cops. These were personal trucks all lined up in a perfect V formation like they'd rehearsed it. Each one had a cheap-looking magnetic sign that said Lakeview Estates HOA Official Business. Now, if you've ever seen a real official sign, you know Comic Sans is not the font anyone uses, but that's what I was looking at. Out steps this woman, maybe in her mid-50s navy vest with a badge clipboard at the ready like she's about to shut down a lemonade stand for health violations. Christine Gray, HOA president, her tag says. She's flanked by a big guy in a polo shirt, Greg apparently the enforcement, and another woman with her own clipboard, Evelyn secretary. Nobody smiles. Christine's hair is pulled so tight I can almost feel the headache for her. She doesn't shake my hand, just goes straight into it. Are you the individual who purchased the Morrison property at auction? No warmth, no curiosity, just cold, practiced authority. I say, yeah, I'm Frank. Deed's right here if you need to see it. She doesn't even glance at it. She tells me, the deed is irrelevant. This property's under HOA jurisdiction. The previous owner owed $47,000 in assessments. There's a lien. Until you settle that, you're not getting in. I ask her for the documentation. Show me the lien. Where was it recorded? Which office? She barely looks at her clipboard. You'll receive everything by email within the hour, she says. But if I don't pay $47,000 in 48 hours, they'll confiscate my property. Confiscate. Not foreclose, confiscate. That word hits wrong. I've worked with real estate lawyers before. Nobody uses confiscate unless they're seizing drugs or weapons, not a house. And enforcement, no legit HOA has officers like that. Greg steps between me and the gate, arms crossed, feet spread wide like he's about to block a linebacker. Sir, you're on HOA-managed land right now. You're not authorized to be here, he says, all puffed up. I remind him these are in fact my premises. He shrugs. Take it up with the county. I reach for my phone, figured I'd snap a few photos of this mess, but Evelyn, the secretary, steps in fast hand in front of the lens. No photographs. Private HOA matter. These people aren't nervous. They're too smooth, like they've done this before. I ask Christine one last time, if I pay the $47,000, what's to say you won't just do this again? She gives me this tight, cold smile, says, I'll get a certificate of compliance, but I should be aware the annual assessments are $12,000, with more fees for the dock, the road community security, blah, blah. In other words, welcome to the pipeline. I'm starting to realize the only thing more expensive than buying a house is defending your right to actually live in it. So I get in my car, don't say a word. As I drive away, I catch them in my rear view, Christine on her phone smiling, Greg and Evelyn laughing, like they'd just wrapped up a routine job. I drove into town and found a motel. Cheap musty. Sat on that hard bed and opened my laptop. Sure enough, Christine's email was waiting for me, 3 attachments, notice of lien, a demand letter, and HOA bylaws. But you look at those attachments and you start seeing the cracks. No file numbers, no official stamps, no mention of the county. The seal at the bottom, just a picture, not even embossed. Then I opened the demand letter, supposedly from their lawyer Raymond Voss. Says HOA liens have super priority, and if I set foot on the property, I'll be charged with trespassing. Real intimidating stuff if you're the sort of person who just pays a bill to make a headache go away. But the wire transfer instructions, that money's going to Arvos Holdings, LLC, not any HOA trust. That's a private account. I look up Raymond Voss in the State Bar database. Nobody by that name. I check the address on the letterhead. It's a P.O. box at a strip mall. Phone goes straight to a generic voicemail. That's when my gut confirms it. These people aren't just pushing their luck. They're running a full-on shakedown. Called my title insurance, left a desperate voicemail. Then I pulled up the county records online and started digging. The bylaws Christine sent me dated 2 years before the subdivision even existed. So unless these folks were time travelers, this whole HOA setup was built on paperwork as fake as the sign on their trucks. I keep reading, keep cross-checking, barely even notice the motel stench. Christine and her group had profiled me, some out-of-towner, bought a bankrupt property, no local connections, probably easy to scare off with a flurry of fake legal threats. I wasn't the first. On a local forum, I found a buried thread. Be careful with the HOA near East Shore. They've swallowed 3 properties in 5 years. Nobody fights back because they don't know the system. Yeah, well, maybe that was about to change. Next morning, I'm at the county recorder's office before sunrise, clutching my coffee like a life raft. The clerk listens to my story with the patience of someone who's heard every flavor of property dispute. I give her my parcel number. She prints out everything, the CCNRS, the subdivision map lien records. Turns out, Lakeview Estates HOA covers 12 houses. My ranch next door completely separate, predating the whole subdivision by 40 years. No liens, no CCNRS. Christine Gray and her goon squad have no authority over my land. I got certified copies of everything. Called my title insurance, they confirm it. No liens policy's valid. I even dig through state business records. The HOA's registered, but Christine's the agent. The P.O. box matches the fake lawyer, and the organization's not in good standing. Greg, Evelyn, Christine, they show up on every shady filing. And behind it all, the same advisor, Raymond Voss. But here's the catch. In these scams, most people fold. Pay, move on, cut their losses. The only reason I could push back was because I was mad enough and stubborn enough to do my homework. I started reaching out to others, people who'd left hints on the forums. Found Elena lost her cabin and her savings to Christine's scheme. She kept every email and receipt, even though it made her stomach churn. She handed it all over to me and said, if you can make them answer for what they did, I'll do whatever it takes. Howard, another target, showed up with a folder an inch thick. He'd paid $19,000 before realizing what was up. His lawyer told him to just settle quietly, said these people had connections not worth the risk. But he never stopped collecting evidence. With their stories and documents, I had a case building. And then I got a message. They did the same thing to me. I was on the HOA board before they pushed me out. I have documents. Meet me tonight. Could have been a setup. Could have been a lifeline. Derek Murphy turned out to be real, the former treasurer. He'd watched Christine and Raymond turn a sleepy neighborhood group into a racket. Bankruptcy sales tax auctions targeting people who wouldn't know the difference. Raymond, he said, had once worked at the assessor's office. Knew exactly how to forge believable paperwork. They tracked targets, added fees for every hesitation, and split the take through shell companies. Derek handed me a folder with emails, plans to shake down the new buyer of the Morrison Ranch escalation schedules payment spreadsheets. Over 6 years, they'd made $300,000. Not bad for community service, huh? I took all of it to the state attorney general's office. The Consumer Fraud Division took one look at the evidence and started an investigation. The sheriff's office got involved after seeing proof of intimidation. Someone had slipped a photo under my motel door, me meeting with Elena. Mind your own business. Last warning, it just made me dig deeper. I even baited Christine, called her up, asked for more time, got her to agree to a $5,000 late fee on a call I recorded. Piece by piece, their case unraveled. The big showdown was almost anticlimactic. We arranged a meeting at my property to settle up. I had Deputy Martin from the sheriff's office waiting out of sight, recorders rolling every word captured. Christine, Greg, Evelyn, and finally Raymond, the fake lawyer, turned up. They handed me a folder of settlement documents that would have, if I signed, given them retroactive authority over my property. But I started asking questions. Where exactly does my parcel fall under your CCNRS? How does your authority extend to land that predates your whole community? Raymond stumbled, admitted on tape that legal boundaries are complicated, but what matters is who has the authority to enforce. That's when the sheriff stepped in. Handcuffs, Miranda warnings, Christine yelling about harassment, Greg silent, Evelyn crying, Raymond staring daggers. Turns out Raymond wasn't even a lawyer. The money had been flowing to shell companies in another state, $320,000, almost a third sent to a hidden account. And he wasn't at the top. When the AG's office dug deeper, they found another beneficiary, someone who'd stayed in the shadows, maybe a former official, maybe just a faceless investor pulling strings. Raymond's last words to me as they drove away. You think you've won something? You have no idea who else is involved. He meant it. The fallout was wild. The same forums that painted me as a scammer suddenly spun 180. Now I was the whistleblower, the guy who fought back. Motel manager offered me a free week for the misunderstanding. Even the title insurance company apologized for the confusion they'd been duped to by Raymond posing as a creditor. Elena Howard and a couple more victims were called to testify. Derek handed over everything he had. Suddenly, these scattered, shamed people had a voice, a network. For a few days, I let myself believe maybe justice would stick this time. Then I got the call. The AG's investigator found that $90,000 had gone to a hidden LLC. Someone was funding this, feeding the targets, making sure the scam kept rolling. So yeah, I took down the ringleaders, but the real boss, still out there. I sat on my porch at dusk, looking out over the lake. The old farmhouse, creaking wind in the pines, wondering who was counting their money that night and who might be thinking about payback. You want the lesson. It's not that justice prevails. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it just gets started. The real lesson is that systems, legal, financial, social, are only as good as the people who run them. When those people decide to twist the rules, well, all you've got left is how stubborn you are and maybe a few friends you didn't know you had. I keep my doors locked now. Keep a recorder on my nightstand. Sleep's still hard to come by. But you know what? Nobody stands at my gate and tells me I don't belong here anymore. That's enough for now. But let me ask you, where do you draw the line between defending yourself and becoming just as ruthless as the people who tried to take everything from you? Ever been in a spot where you had to fight the system and did it? Even matter in the end? Drop your story below or just tell me what you think. Maybe together we can figure out what's right and what's just surviving.